Who has the best star duo in the NBA? The NBA has shifted away from the three-star Big Three model of team building in favor of this getting your two guys and then putting elite role players around them. At least most teams have gone that direction. So let's pick the best duo from every team and rank them 1 through 30. Like, subscribe, and let's go. At 30, it's the Brooklyn Nets with Nick Claxton and Cam Thomas. Is it really Cam Thomas? I guess, but whoever you put here, they're trying to be bad, and they're succeeding. They're going to be bad, like really bad. At 29, I'm going with the Washington Wizards with Kyle Kuzma and Jonas Valanciunas. This might be the only duo on the list that could both be traded by the trade deadline. But right now, they're the only guys on this team that would look like contributors to an actual good basketball team. And yes, I know that Jordan Poole was on that title team for the Golden State Warriors a few years ago. And I know that he didn't suck for them. But he definitely did all last year. At 28, it's the Portland Trailblazers with Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant. I would say that this duo could also be in the same boat. And by that, I mean on different teams by the deadline. But that should have been the case for Jeremy Grant a while ago, and he's still there. So I'm not just going to assume that he's going to finally get moved, regardless of how logical that would be. At 27, I've got the Chicago Bulls with Kobe White and Zach LaVine. I wanted so badly for this to just be White and Giddey and move on with the youth movement. But nobody wants to trade for LaVine. And he's still a good player when he plays. Winning player? Maybe not. But still a better player than Josh Giddey and still on the Bulls. At 26, it's the Charlotte Hornets with LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. This could be a really, really impressive young duo to get excited about if LaMelo Ball could stay on the court. And the court was located anywhere other than Charlotte. But alas, here we are. At 25, I'm going with the Detroit Pistons with Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. These two guys are actually a good young duo. There are some flaws. There's growth that needs to happen, but if it was just these two, there would be a lot of reason for optimism in Detroit. It's what's going on around them that kind of kills the optimism. Coming in at 24, give me the Utah Jazz with Lauri Markkanen and Colin Sexton. Both are good players. Markkanen is really good, but as a big two or a star duo or whatever you want to call it, not great and not a lot of upside to bet on. But right now, today, better than some of the young and bad teams. At 23, it's Houston with Alperen Şengün and Fred VanVleet. It's a really good young team in Houston. There's a lot to be excited about as a Rockets fan, but if you're just going with best duo, it doesn't really stack up against a lot of the others in the league. If you want to tell me that Jalen Green should be here instead of either one of these dudes, okay, but that doesn't make it better. In the 22 spot, I'm going with the Toronto Raptors with Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett. It was way harder than I thought it was going to be to pick a duo for the Raptors. Scotty Barnes is the easy one, and he's really good. But then it's a drop-off to Barrett and Quickly, and Barrett was just a little bit better for them after the trade happened. At 21, I'm going with Atlanta for Trae Young and Jalen Johnson. And this one, truthfully, could age poorly. Jalen Johnson might be that dude. If his breakout is not only real, but he has another gear to reach, he and Trae in the pick and roll could be absolutely deadly. As it is right now, it's already really good. At number 20, give me San Antonio with Wemby and Chris Paul. Oh, how I wish that Chris Paul just wasn't so old. Even 35-year-old Chris Paul would unlock Wemby in a way that could be legitimately unstoppable as a duo. And I've said multiple times now that I think Wemby is guaranteed an all-star berth this year with Chris Paul feeding him the ball. But that's probably where it stops because Chris Paul is probably going to miss some time, and he's not the same level threat that he used to be on his own. Teams are going to know that he's looking to feed Wembanyama as options like 1, 2, and 3, and there just aren't enough threats around them to truly unlock what this duo could have been in some other alternate timeline. Coming in at number 19, I'm going with the Orlando Magic with Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. And oh, the potential here. I really like what the Magic could be, and these two are at the very center of it. If Paolo progresses and Franz finds his shot, they could be one of the top 10 duos next year and make me look really, really dumb for not calling that sooner. At number 18, I'm going with Miami with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. And this reasoning is obvious, right? If Jimmy Butler was more available and wasn't 35, they're much higher than this. But did you know that Jimmy Butler has only played 70 games twice in his career? And under the new rules, he would have only been eligible for end-of-the-season awards 6 times and only once since he left Chicago. We've given playoff Jimmy a ton of credit that he deserves. But regular season Jimmy is going to have to find a way to play more games for him and Bam to move up this list. At 17, I'm headed to Cleveland for the Cavs with Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley. And this one is tough because Mitchell actually might play better with Jarrett Allen than he does with Evan Mobley. But the young guy is a more dynamic player, and the ceiling is the roof in my MJ voice. As a Cavs fan, I truly hope that Mobley takes a leap and that we're talking about these two as a top duo next year. But right now, we still have to see the leap. At 16, I'm going with the New Orleans Pelicans with Zion Williamson and DeJounte Murray. I almost put them a little bit higher, but every time I look at this team, I move them backwards. I don't know what it is, but I just can't bring myself to believe in anything built around Zion. Middle of the pack is as optimistic as I can be. At 15, I've got Sacramento with De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, and this feels kind of low even to me, but I can't find where to move them up. They're really nice. They're just not better than that. At 14, give me the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam. And if Halliburton had stayed healthy and on the tear that he was on last year, this would be too low. But I'm not sure he's not more of the guy we saw in the second half of the season than the guy we saw in the first. And that dude is still really good, and giving him a full training camp with Pascal Siakam, they should be a really, really nice tandem next year. If not, at the top of the league. At 13, I'm in Memphis with Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., and I'm betting on some upside. If Ja is Ja and stays on the court, these two could be really dangerous, but I'm going to have to see what it looks like before I can start making some crazy predictions like, top 5 duo in the league. Like I can't get there. At 12, I guess I'm going with the LA Clippers with James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, and honestly, this is more generous than I really feel about these two. It's just a respect thing for what they can do on a given night, but those nights are just getting so much fewer and far between. At 11, the Golden State Warriors, Steph and Draymond. Draymond fell off and was still the most important player for this team not named Steph Curry. He's also the most damaging to their team. If he can avoid getting suspended for punching or choking anybody on his team or otherwise, they still have the chemistry between the two of them to be a really, really dangerous duo, but they're just not at the top of the league duo anymore. To kick off the top 10, I've got the New York Knicks with Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges. Some might say this is actually too low, but in reality, Jalen Brunson came out of nowhere as a superstar, and Bridges has never been one. He might be the highest non-superstar player in the league, an Iron Man, but the number 2 on a championship level team, he's never been that. Having these two in the top 10 is my way of saying that he could be that. At number 9, I'm going with the Oklahoma City Thunder with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams. And this could age really badly, but I was struggling to even decide between Chet and J-Dub for this second spot. It came down to this. If OKC needs a bucket from someone other than SGA, they're putting the ball in J-Dub's hands. He didn't have a great playoff run, but if there's another leap in there, or if Chet ascends the way that he could, this could be a team with a top 3 to 5 duo in it very, very quickly. At number 8, I'm going with the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. Call this a vote of confidence that last year was just weird, and this year is going to be smoother, at least for these two, because specifically them, I literally just made a video that said Giannis Antetokounmpo was the second best player out of all the team's best players in the entire league. If Dame is anything close to the Dame that we're used to seeing, this could be as dangerous of a duo as there is in the league. However, we said that last year. At 7, give me the Minnesota Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert. It was splitting hairs between Gobert and Cat, but I just think that Rudy's defense is more important for who this team is than Cat's offense on most nights. When this team is at its best, it's because of its defense. But that also means that your second most important player is a 32-year-old Rudy Gobert. At number 6, I'm in Dallas with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. The comments section might explode for this one. How could you have Luka and Kyrie at 6? They just went to the finals. True, but we're still talking about Kyrie, who disappeared in many of those playoff games for stretches and has only played more than 60 games once since he left Cleveland. Luka is still Luka, and they're really good when this is at its best, but I still just can't bet on Kyrie being his best every single night. We've reached the top 5, and to start it out, I'm going with the Denver Nuggets with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. As a duo, they're as hard to stop as almost anyone. Jamal Murray has a lot of availability concerns, though, and simply just isn't the superstar player night in and night out that some of these other duos have. He's really, really good, though. For number 4, I'm going with the Philadelphia 76ers, Joel Embiid and Paul George. Philly is making a gamble on these two to be available. It's not something that I would bet on, but when they are, it should be as impossible to stop as any other duo in the league, in theory. At number 3, give me the Phoenix Suns, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Imagine if the Suns didn't trade for Bradley Beal. They just built a team of well-fitting role players around KD and Booker. Because these two guys, in a vacuum, are still as good as it gets as a 1-2 punch. Speaking of wishful thinking, at number 2, I've got the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. Did you see how LeBron and AD had to carry Team USA through the friendlies? Do you realize that they both made All-NBA teams last year? The Lakers have made just about every roster building mistake you could possibly make around them since the bubble. But you could put these two guys up against any duo in the league, and I would still bet on these two guys. And for number 1, that leaves us with the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. How can you not put these two at the top right now? Coming off a championship, and yes, admittedly, I'm giving them a bump for that. If they didn't win the championship last year, they're still in the top 5, but maybe I don't have them at the top. Still, they've done nothing but win since Tatum came into the league, and they're two of the best wing players in the NBA, both locked up financially and both just entering their primes. There's not a team in the league that wouldn't want to be building around these two as their foundation. So for this year's list, they get the top spot. All right, let me know in the comments, who do you think has the best duo in the NBA? And while you're there, like the video to let YouTube know that it doesn't suck, and subscribe to the channel to let me know that you want me to keep making more of them.